now start filming. This is Steel Lake. Well done. Big round of applause.
Hello again everyone, it's me, Maximus. Yes, you're probably looking at this picture thinking, oh my god, who is this Muppet? Yes, it is me, your one and only, and this is me in operational tour in Afghanistan in 2008, serving alongside the CVRT Scimitar squadrons whilst they were out there with the British Army. Now, I have a love-hate relationship with the CVRT family. They are an absolutely amazing piece of equipment. They do very well and have served the British Army very, very true. Unfortunately, will be replaced by the Ajax system in the near future. I guess not unfortunately, it's a good thing, really. But in Afghanistan, they really were one of those vehicles that I loved to hate. In terms of mechanical repair, they were just awful, but in terms of capabilities, these things were incredible. Really not best suited for Afghanistan, which is a sad thing to say. That's another topic for another day, especially when my platoon sergeant gets stuck in the hatch of one, literally stuck, cannot get out of the driver's compartment because he's a little podgy around the edges, couldn't quite get out the hatch. But I had a lot of good and bad experiences with this vehicle, so I do have a very strong passion towards it, a big attachment to it. That being said, I'm not a subject matter expert about it, I don't know everything, but I would like today to give you a bit of an educational insight as to the history and the reviewing of this vehicle so that you can take a little bit away from it and learn a little bit about this absolutely outstanding piece of British military equipment. So to talk about the CVRT Scimitar and some of the more modern packages that this vehicle came in, we have to go back to its roots. The FV101 Scorpion was actually the original variant of this vehicle. Along with other CVRT variants, which stands for Combat Vehicle Reconnaissance Tracked, it is one of the most iconic British armoured vehicles of its day. It was by all means part of a successful design family that, in the form of an upgraded Scimitar variant, continued to serve only as of recently, more than 4 decades since its introduction, which is why it relates to a little bit of my love-hate relationship with it mechanically. The roots of the Scorpion can be traced back to the turbulent 1950s and 1960s, during which the UK struggled both with its economics and politics. Despite ending the World War II on the winning side, the conflict had cost Britain dearly, and widespread unrest in the colonies after the war made it quite expensive for Britain to maintain its garrisons all over the world. One of the solutions was to establish a rapid deployment air mobile force, something similar that we're seeing today with trying to create quick reaction forces. They were to be equipped with light armour that could be transported by planes along with the men of the first response units. The armour component of the force was pretty important, as earlier lighter designs, especially the Saladin armoured car, proved to be very successful when fighting the usually only lightly armoured insurgents. These rapid deployment units would contain the threat until eventual arrival of the bulk of the heavy armour brigades, or even battle groups by sea if necessary. That is not to say that before the British military requested this feature, there hadn't been attempts to modernise the wartime recon fleet of British vehicles. In the late 1940s and 1950s, the British developed the FV300 light chassis, which was to be used for a number of vehicle designs, including the FV301 light tank, with the following different parameters that it was requested from the armed forces at the time. It had to weigh 26 tons, have at least 32mm of steel sloped armour, have a 51mm steel armoured turret, and a Meteorite Mark II 537 horsepower engine with a maximum speed of 48 km an hour. A single prototype was apparently built. The weight alone disqualified the vehicle from being air transportable, and the project was pretty much cancelled. In the 1960s, one of the vehicles in dire need of replacing the Alvis Saladin armoured car was successful but a very aging design. The British military wanted wheels as well as tracks for recon duties, and this quality would influence the development for decades to come. The program to develop the new recon vehicle was called the AVR, or Armoured Vehicle Reconnaissance, and there were both tracked and wheeled vehicles proposed as part of its plan in the 1960s. In 3 categories, there was the fire support, anti-tank and anti-APC variants. The main developer was the Fighting Vehicles Research and Development Establishment, otherwise known as the FVRDE, a British research unit based in Surrey. In parallel with the AVR program, the British ran a program called the Lightweight High Mobility Tactical Vehicle, or LHMTV, and this program was to consist of vehicles that were as small and as light as possible, yet with significant firepower. The maximum weight allowed for these designs was 4.5 tons, so they could fit into a rather small Armstrong Whitworth AW660 Argosa cargo plane. The result was a series of rather unique vehicles, some even armed with the 120mm recoilless guns. While technically quite interesting, they were really not accepted into service and quite impractical for the overall needs of the British Army at the time. On the track side of things for the AVR program, there were several vehicle proposals, including a light tank armed with a 76mm gun or a 105mm gun. The British also considered a gun launcher system comparable to that of the Sheridan, but decided against it. The main gun was supposed to be installed on the front-mounted turret, not capable of full traverse, and the vehicle was supposed to be armed with guided missiles installed on the back of the hull. Interesting design for its time. At 13 tons, the weight prevented the vehicle from being air-transportable once again, and was always the main problem when it came across their designs. This proposal was once again not accepted, and no prototype was ever built. Steel was unfortunately way too heavy to reach these desired parameters, which is why the British would eventually opt for aluminium, or aluminum as many people like to say in this crazy country that I live in now. Just kidding, I love Canada. In 1963, an alternative study was proposed by the FRDE series of lighter vehicles. A light armed vehicle with a 120mm Wombat recoilless gun, a light tank armed with a 76mm shotgun, and a 105mm self-propelled artillery piece. The military finally abandoned the requirement for these vehicles to be transported by the aircraft, as well as the vehicle being wheeled for the AVR program. The new program designation was CVR, or Combat Vehicle Reconnaissance, of which we know today. It's worth noting though that the wheeled vehicle component was actually to return for the CVR program a bit later on, eventually resulting in the development of the FV721 Fox. One of the experimental prototypes built as part of the CVR program was the TV1 5000, a direct ancestor to the Scorpion. Unlike previous designs, it was made from aluminium and sported a wide range of advanced components such as new light tracks, hydromatic suspension, and advanced transmissions. It was powered by a 4.2 litre Jaguar engine producing approximately 195 horsepower. Two prototypes, one static and one mobile, were built in 1966, and they really impressed the military so much that an order of 17 of these prototypes was made in order for them to pass the advanced trials that they were going to put them under. The first prototype from this batch was built on January 23rd, 1969 as part of the mobile test rig phase. The trials took place in Australia, Abu Dhabi, Iran and Canada and were very successful. In May 1970, Alvis was contracted to produce 2,000 vehicles, with the first one set to be delivered in 1972 to the 17th and 21st Lancers at the point which they were deployed in Germany, even though they officially only entered service in 1973. The 76mm vehicle variant received official designation FV101 Scorpion. While the 76mm equipped Scorpion would fulfill the anti-infantry role, with its powerful gun also being capable of dealing with some enemy light armour and fortifications thanks to the Hesh rounds, its 30mm equipped sibling, the Scimitar, was designed to deal with enemy APCs and is what we are knowing of today as the Scimitar variant. The 30mm Radin, which I have come across and had experience with, had much flatter trajectory and fast rounds, making it much more suitable for hitting moving targets. Both vehicles had an aluminum hull in order to save weight, and aluminium is actually quite tricky material to master and use on armour, and the British were very wary of the American lessons learnt with it. Interestingly enough, instead of using the lower grade 5083 grade aluminium alloy armour used in the American M113, the British chose to use the 7017 grade aluminium zinc alloy. It was difficult to work with but considerably more durable. The weight savings allowed for the vehicle to stay air mobile. It could be transported by NATO cargo planes, most notably the American C-130 Hercules. But that wasn't the only requirement. The military wanted the Scorpion to be as stealthy as possible and capable of traversing even the most difficult terrain. While the word stealthy really isn't normally typically associated with armoured track vehicles, the Scorpion with its Jaguar XK engine could run quite quiet, and thanks to its narrow width and low ground pressure it was able to go where few other track vehicles could. The combination of silent running and excellent off-road capabilities made it extremely good at ambushing and reconnaissance. Overall, the development results were remarkably good for this vehicle for peacetime armour development programs, which are typically plagued by delays and budget cuts. Now the CVRT family is quite large, originating with the FV101 Scorpion as a reconnaissance vehicle. There was then the FV102 Striker anti-tank missile vehicle, the FV103 Spartan armoured personnel carrier, the FV104 Samaritan ambulance, the FV105 Sultan command vehicle, or battle box as we used to call it, the FV-106 Samson armoured recovery vehicle, which I had a lot of experience with, the FV-107 Scimitar reconnaissance vehicle, which provided me coverage in Overwatch in Musakala, DC, which I have a lot of respect for, and finally the Saber, which is basically the same kind of design as the Scimitar, but with a Fox turret, and the turret's a little different, modernized, lower profile than it is to the Scimitar. So lots of different variants here, and I would like to show you actually the original footage, or the, I guess, showcasing footage for the Scorpion of its day. So let's take a look.
Built in Britain by Alvis, also emerged in the mid-1970s, although it is officially designated a tracked reconnaissance vehicle. Scorpion is the first of a whole family of vehicles employing the same engine and chassis. Weighing only some 8 tons, all are air-portable, a factor which has led to their wide export around the world. Scorpion is a 3-man vehicle powered by a 6-cylinder Jaguar sports car engine, which gives a top speed of 50 miles per hour. More recently, a diesel engine has been fitted, which together with other improvements is claimed to give 30% better performance. The vehicle's cross-country maneuverability is exceptional, and it proved its worth in the Falklands conflict, particularly during the final fighting around Mount Tumbledown and Port Stanley. The vehicle is not amphibious, unless flotation screens are erected, but it can ford water up to 3.5 feet deep. Scorpion has only aluminum armor, but further crew protection is afforded by the front-mounted engine. The tank's main 76mm gun fires APDS, armor-piercing discarding sabot ammunition, effective at up to some 1,600 yards. A variant of Scorpion, called Scimitar, is armed with a quick-firing 30mm Rardin cannon, which is devastating against other lightly armored AFVs. A 90mm gun can also be fitted to give an even greater anti-tank capability. The use of common parts throughout the Scorpion range makes servicing and maintenance much simpler than in the past. Other members of the Scorpion family include an ambulance, armored personnel carrier, command and engineer vehicles, and a missile-armed tank destroyer.
So, there you have it, folks. The Scorpion family, otherwise known as CVRT family of vehicles that have progressively been upgraded since the dawn of time when they came to be. A very powerful piece of equipment when utilized correctly. You know, there's a lot of requirements that they wanted for this vehicle, had a lot of different prototypes and trials, but it looks like the CVRT family really did take off and served the British Armed Forces and countries around the world very, very well. As I said, I do have first-hand experience of this. That does not mean I'm a subject matter expert, but I can put a little bit of my based experience on it, and it is a fantastic bit of equipment. Mechanically, it can be a bit of a nightmare, but overall, a great bit of kit. Now, I am actually in the process of looking into buying one of these. I'm not kidding. It's a life dream of mine to own a CVRT of some kind, because they are just such an easy piece of equipment to procure, to drive around. It's not a major maintenance problem. Yes, they're a bit of a pain in the butt, but getting parts and components for them really isn't too difficult. There's a lot of private owners out there, as you can see the gentleman right now flying around in these tanks. Someone who I've had correspondence with before, who some of the footage is on this video today, so thank you, sir. He has allowed me to use his footage in the past. Paul Donovan, he actually has owned one of these vehicles in the past. Fantastic guy, very, very friendly. And I would love to have that capability of just having one of these in my backyard. It would just be amazing. So I am in the process of, dreaming a little bit and looking into finding one that's in this side of the country, in Canada or the Northern America. And there is one in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There's a CVRT Sultan right there, ready to go. And there's also a CVRT Spartan there. I would much prefer to get the Spartan, being that it's not the battle box. It's a lot more, you know, nimble. And it's a dream, folks. I mean, they're asking, I think, $48,000 US, a crazy amount of money. But, you know, maybe in my retirement, I'll actually look into buying one and, you know, showcase it on my channel when I'm an old man, if I still have YouTube when I'm an old man. But it is a bit of a life dream to own my own armored personnel carrier or infantry fighting vehicle or tank, whatever it may be, a tracked vehicle of some kind. Mrs. Maximus would kill me, but, you know, I would love to have one. We have lots of land around here to play it on. We can't drive them on the roads over here, unfortunately, which is a little bit sad, but just look at these guys flying around on the field. Just fantastic. Looks amazing. It'd just be fun to have. So anyway, folks, I hope you learned a little bit about the CVRT family today. You know, really commend the engineers and designs of this vehicle. It's done very well for itself and its service and served British soldiers very, very well in its career. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave me a like. If you want to support my channel, go check out my Patreon account. The link is in the description box below, and any support you have given or wish to give, I can't thank you enough. It really is appreciated. Have a wonderful day, all the best, and bye-bye.